Discussion topic is physical addressing. So the various topics that we are going to cover today are: first we will have the small discussion on operating system, then we will discuss memory management and the various types of addressing schemes, that is logical addressing, then physical addressing. Then we will discuss about the basic differences between the logical address and the physical address of the memory. And in the last, we will have some of the MCQs related to the same topic. So let's move to our first slide. What exactly is operating system? So we are having small introduction on the operating system. So the operating system is an interface, or we can say that a set of software programs. It is a program that manage the computer hardware. So it provides us like interface or intermediary application through which the user can communicate with the system, so that the user, the computer software and the computer hardware all in combination can work together. So we can say that in single line it is the intermediary between the user and the computer hardware. So these are the set of simple instructions. So CPU scheduling is the most important thing in case of operating system. So the CPU scheduling means that if we are having a processor, then which task has to be performed first and which is having the least priority. So this all comes under the CPU scheduling schemes. So let's move to our next slide. So what are the main important functions of operating system? There are various like functions and services that are provided by operating system, like booting. Booting means that when the system starts up, then the startup functionality services starts, that is handled by the operating system. Then memory management is also handled by operating system. Then there is loading and execution of various programs, then providing data security and privacy so that the unauthorized person cannot access our data. Then disk management is also handled by operating system. Then process management. As we have discussed, process management means that the scheduling itself. That means that how to manage the various processes if we are having like collection of programs, then which has to be performed first and which has to be performed last. This all is handled and managed by the operating system. Then the device controlling also is a function of operating system. Like we have connected like scanner and printer, then how to manage and control all of them. Then print controlling is also handled. Then it is a kind of interface, or we can say that some set of instructions are provided in between so that the user can comfortably work with the hardware. So these are the some of the basic functions of operating system. So next we are having the important topic, that is memory management. Memory management means that how the CPU is utilized maximum and how to efficiently use the processor so that it can provide the instant response and quick response to the user according to the requirement. Basically, memory has the array of words through which it generates like address and to locate the data in the memory. So processor basically fetches the instructions and the data from the memory according to the requirement of the user as per the command given by user or client, and it is mainly handled by the program counter. Program counter is a counter that counts the values of the processes. So the next we are having one simple diagram to explain the working, how the physical address is generated and managed. So we can say that if we are having like instruction, then it has to be stored somewhere, that is the memory. Then it will be fetched from the memory according to the requirement and it will be loaded and executed. So in the diagram we can see that CPU will generate the logical address. the address which is generated by the processor, that is the CPU, is logical address. Then that address has to be checked in the segment table. Segment table has two parts like limit and base. Base, we can say that it can start from, let's say, 100. The limit is 200. Then the next address location will be 100 plus 200, that is 300. So limit is the gap between the addresses, the values in the table, and base will be the initialized address. So we need to check the address. If it is like greater than base, it means that the address of the process or instruction that we are searching for, it must be greater than base value, and it must be like less than limit plus base value. Then we can say that that particular instruction is present in our memory, and that address after adding, that is limit and base, if it is added and it is less than, it means that we are having that value as a physical address, and that value is present in the memory. We can simply fetch the instruction from the memory itself. So finally we are having two types of addresses, that is logical address and physical address. So as we have discussed, the address generated by the CPU, that is central processing unit, is called as a logical address. Or we can see that it is having alternative name also as a virtual address. And important thing is that it can be easily viewed by the user. So we can say logical address is like the reference, so that we can finally access the physical address and we can fetch the main data from the main memory. So now what is physical addressing? Like we say logical address as virtual address, but the physical address is the main address or real address or original address. These all are the names for physical address. It is a binary number, or media access control address is also another name. So these are the multiple names for physical addressing. In networking, we can say physical address refers to the computer's MAC address. MAC address means that media access control address. If we are having collection of computers, then we need to identify the particular computer or system by the adapter in the networks. So that is performed by the physical addressing. And as we discussed, logical address can be viewed by the user, but physical addresses cannot be viewed by the user. So these are the binary addresses basically, which is having some range and some values, or we can say r plus 0. R is some range, then again we will add some value with it. It will start from 0 and it will be having the some limited value as maximum value. In between, the number of values means that the various values for the table and the various processes or instruction that are present in the main memory. If we are having instructions between 0 to maximum, it means that we are having that particular data in the physical address. If the value exceeds the maximum value, then we can say that that data is not present in the memory. So next we are having one simple diagram to explain the data. Like CPU will generate the address, which is logical address. Then after main memory will search for the data. If it is having the data in the buffer is the storage, that is TLB, translation look aside buffer. If the data presents over the buffer, it will be fetched into main memory and that will be executed or fetched to the user. In the main memory itself, we will be having multiple pages, like different instructions, different set of instructions. So we can see in the another diagram also, CPU will generate some logical address like 346. Then it will be added to the base value of the main memory, that is 14,000. So if we add 14,000 and 346, 14,000, 346 will be the final value of the location of the address, the data we want to fetch from the memory. So this is the basic working of logical and physical addressing. So let's move to our next slide. Here we are having some difference between logical and physical address. So logical is the virtual address, whereas physical address is the original address where actually the data lies in the memory unit. Then visibility is logical address can be viewed but physical address cannot be viewed. Logical address is having some address space called as logical address space, where in case of physical addressing obviously its name will be physical address space. Then accessing, in case of logical address, user uses the logical address to access the physical address. So it will be the starting to access the main address. But in case of physical address, the user cannot directly access it. So the last point is generation. Logical address basically generated by CPU, whereas physical address is generated or computed, we can say calculated by main memory unit. So these are the basic differences. So let's have some MCQs. The first question is, what do you understand by logical addressing? So the various options are given below. So option number 2, virtual address generated by CPU is called as logical addressing. So other options are incorrect, as a virtual address always generated by CPU to access the main data from the main memory is called as logical addressing. So next question is, what is TLB? What is the acronym for TLB? TLB means that translation look aside buffer. It is the storage space where the data lies. If in case we are having large data, then it is stored over there in buffer, and according to the requirement it will be fetched to the main memory and will be given to the user for the further execution or processing. So this was all about physical and logical addressing. Thank you so much.